live with CCO. You know what? It's episode 80, and we have a hot topic for you guys tonight. I know that already in some of the um, coding boards and forums, they've been talking about changes that are happening in 2023. Well, we're going to talk about them also. However, I want you to know it's not all bad news. So let's talk about a couple of the changes for 23, the CEU changes, and how they are going to be reflected for the AAPC local chapters, the CEUs that you're going to be able to get. I know Carrie Elizabeth, she's on there. She already says, I'm not happy about this. So again, I understand it's shocking. Kind of, we've gotten used to doing everything a certain way, but let's talk through it. Let's talk about all of the changes that they've notified us about with the CEUs. It's not just that main one, I'm sure that you're going to want to bring up. The first thing, of course, is going to be uh, the that your attendees that are in person can get CEUs for your chapters. So no big deal. It doesn't matter if you are from a different chapter and you go visit at the chapter that your friend's at, or you want to see a specific guest speaker. You will be able to obtain the CEUs live in person, right? Whatever chapter you're a member of, not going to matter at all. It's the fact that you've attended um, uh, in person. Whitney says, I think it'll be good in the long run. We're gonna talk about that. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons, and again, what we're all feeling. But like I said, don't worry. If you attend in person, nothing changes. You're going to be able to get the CEU no matter where you're from, what chapter you're in. The change that everybody's kind of baffled about, or I don't think they're confused. I think it's pretty easily explained, but virtual CEUs will no longer in 2023 be available to you unless it's your own local chapter. So right now, I am a member of the the Jefferson City chapter in Missouri. And I had a long time ago, I was St. Louis. That's why that popped in my head. But I had moved from Texas back to our home area, and I joined the Jefferson City chapter. And therefore, if I want to attend any of those chapter meetings and I can't go in person for whatever reason, I still get the CEU for the event if they're streaming it, virtually. And I think that is going to kind of become a thing going forward, where there's a lot of people that can't make it to the local chapter meeting within the chapter. And if that's the case, this allows them to stay connected. Now, there has been some changes in or I don't know that it was changes, but the dollar amount that the local chapter gets for your attendance. Some of you guys may not realize this, but when you attend the local chapter meetings, one of the reasons that they take attendance, not only to make sure that you've gotten the CEUs for being live, but the AAPC gives back to the chapter funds for the members that attend. So it stated in the officer's announcement that you get $4 for every time you attend your local chapter meeting. And then if you are attending virtually, you get $1. And that's how they are able to do things within the chapters. Michelle says, crazy because I just received an email from our local chapter might close if they can't find members. Is it members that they need, or is it the officers too? You got to have officers. Not too late, even though they've had the election. It's not too late to get your officers. Michelle, let us know where your local chapter is, because we have people all over that listen, and we would like to be able to announce that your local chapter is needing members. All right, and then it's Sandra says, this is very disappointing for many people, I believe. I understand that it is disappointing. Let's talk about the cons first, and then we're going to talk about the positive aspect of what they're doing. The first thing is that many of us have been able to attend some amazing lectures remote because the local chapters got a fabulous guest speaker on a topic that might have been particularly appealing to you, or they had something that was very applicable to what you do. And then not only were you able to attend and get that content, but you were able to get a CEU for that. Now, they're not saying you can't attend virtually. They're just saying you're not going to get a CEU for it, right? That being said, that's a negative. They're taking that away. So I know I do a lot of guest speaking for different chapters, and uh, that means people that want to listen in on that chapter, they won't be able to get a CEU if that's not your local chapter. Again, um, um, that is going to be disappointing for a lot of people. Planners by Cat says, I'm going to have to give up my certification. I can't afford CEUs. We got some helpful tips. We're going to wrap up with some helpful tips that we think will alleviate some of that pressure. And at CCO, we are all of that. That's one of our three main highlights. We not only educate you on coding and billing, and we also help you pass the exam. And then the third thing that we are invested in is making sure that you have access to affordable CEUs. And we do a lot of free CEUs, and then we have CEUs through our club, but we're going to tell you some other ways to get CEUs. So, what are some other negatives? One, that you don't think that you'll be able to afford the CEUs. Two, you're going to be lacking in really valuable guest speakers and content, because your chapter may not have the resources. Michelle had said not being able to find chapter members. Michelle says she's in Austin, Texas. Austin is a pretty significantly sized area. So again, we need to rally around different local chapters that are struggling for people to volunteer to be officers, and in addition, to get people to members for their chapter. We can help you with that, Michelle. The other positive, let's switch to the positive now. The fact is our local chapters, besides offering CEUs, though, have been primarily a way for us to network with each other within our own community. We know what jobs are out there. That's a great way for CPCAs to find a job, and also for them to get mentoring. You may be a mentor to somebody and not even know that you're mentoring somebody, but they're looking up to you and listening to what you say at the meetings, the little tidbits, the advice. They're learning from you if you've been in the industry. You're right, Michelle. Austin should not be struggling. That is, that's not good. So, uh, again, we're going to figure out some ways to help promote Austin. We'll do that. The other thing is that this is a way to help local chapters boost their participation by saying, you know what, we're going to focus inward so that you can get the value from your own community. Now, Ivy says, so can we still use the CEUs from the online CCO club? Absolutely. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I got the email that it may close. That there you go, Ivy. If you you guys need to connect then and let us know how we can help. Leslie says this is going to be an administrative nightmare because people are going to keep switching to get places for CEUs. Don't think ABC thought about this. Leslie, we thought about this too. We discussed it, and I don't know for sure. I sent a note out to Valerie Jones, and I've got a slide showing you that she's a contact person for CEUs. You you won't be able to switch back and forth. They're going to keep track. You're not going to be able to go outside the diameter of where you live. I think Lori mentioned in the past, um, before the pandemic, it was like this. So this isn't something new. This is the way we've always done it before. You couldn't join a chapter outside a 100-mile radius of where you lived, and excuse me, and you could not get what, there was no remote. You know, maybe somebody would do a virtual thing once in a while, but they had no remote. It wasn't available. And now they've opened up that virtual to fill the need. And what they're doing is they're saying you can still have virtual meetings. You just can't offer CEUs unless it's to your local chapter members. Everybody else can do their own CEUs, right? So one is the one of the problems is finding guest speakers. We're here for you. We do guest speaking. We have a lot of lectures that if you know that someone was a fabulous lecturer at a particular chapter, you saw that they advertised it on LinkedIn or one of the other platforms, you know what, reach out to those chapter officers and say, can we get the contact information for that person, and we'd like to have them speak for us. The speakers can still be remote. So I've done California. Well, I'm not even going to list all the different places: Georgia, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Missouri, lots in Texas. So again, you can do remote speakers, and that's another way to network with other chapters, is to find out who they're using as their guest speakers. In addition, if you want mentoring on how to put together a presentation, that's something you can talk about in our CCO community and CCO club, because obviously we do that quite a bit. And, you know, we would love to be able to discuss tips for you to offer to give a presentation at your local chapter. That would be excellent for you to volunteer and kind of step up to the plate. Julio says, I believe you can still attend the monthly meetings, but won't get CEUs. Yes, you can attend the meetings, you just won't get a CEU for it. You can attend somebody else's meeting with no problem. Yeah, it's right. I spoke for Memphis, and I'm going to be speaking for them coming up again. And they sent me a message today, in fact, for doing something in May of next year. Um, Sandra says, however, prior to the pandemic, there were no virtual meetings. Correct. This is such a benefit for many who live far away, with limited educational CEUs for people who may want to join a meeting elsewhere. That is of benefit for them. And again, Sandra, I agree. I think that is one of the things that um, w- that I think that's the number one thing that people are going to see lacking, is that they're doing a presentation, say in Memphis, that is one that I want to attend. Well, not only do I want the education from the lecture, but I would like to get the CEU too, and they're taking that out. However, whoever did that lecture, have them come to your local chapter, because they probably were doing it remote, and they that has already been approved for a CEU. So sending that content in to be approved should be easy. It should be approved quickly. And let's see. Ooh, let's see. Hanele? I don't know if I'm going to say that name. Lang? I haven't received an email from my chapter in over a year. I understand COVID messed up a lot. It did. You can also reach out to the AAPC, let them know that you have lost contact with your local chapter, and see what they can do to rectify that. Maybe there were some changes, and there is a way to go in and get the officers from your local chapter. Uh, let's see, Carrie said, I attended a lot of meetings last month and plan to do more this month, but it's about the education. I already obtained all my CEUs. I might start reaching out to the presenters of ones I've attended. That's brilliant. That's what you should do. And get them in to your local chapters. How much is the CCO club, and how many CEUs are available a year through it? We always have at least 20 CEUs, and I've got a slide to tell you about that here in just a moment. Lady says, we're working on 23 meetings for my chapter, and we're going to have 3 special events: a workshop, a roundtable for 6 or more CEUs for $20 to $40. That's very affordable. I think easily budgeted in for 2023 when you plan ahead. So absolutely, that's that's great. What is your local chapter, um, lady? That would be an excellent way to, if somebody attends virtually, if you're going to put these up for virtual, then they can get ideas for their local chapters, how to have some of these workshops and roundtables and special events. Let's see, Lori mentions, and we've got a slide to tell you that we have a topic request, where if there's something specific you would like to have presented, that's another thing. Sometimes if you have a need in your community, maybe for SUNY Downstate, I did a lecture on sonographers, 4 sonographers that were getting ready to graduate, and that's pretty much a niche. And so it uh, if that's something that you have in your area, then let us know, and we would be able to help create lectures that meet the needs for your community. Okay, so Orange County, Orange, California. Very good. You know what? That's what Austin needs to do. They need to get some of those dynamic people together and look at ways to be able to be creative to meet the needs of their people. Austin is a uh, significant area. Texas is a thriving area for coders. So let us see what we can do to help you out, because we want to make sure our local chapters have resources at their fingertips, and maybe if we can noodle on some ways to get some excitement for you, let us venture out to help you. Jesus is our COO, and he says, if your chapter needs a remote presentation, we can provide free ones, and we have remote presentations already ready to go, already set up. We have a lineup that may be a topic that we've already done that you might be interested in. Here's a link for you. Natalie, you didn't miss much. We're just getting rolled up. And Barry says, respectfully, why does the AAPC feel they need to make sure that I network? Isn't that on me? I can still network virtually. No offense, but in my opinion, this does not seem to be about networking. Well, Barry, I agree with you. I think one of the thought processes is, again, help networking within the local chapter. That is primarily what local chapters have always been about. Help the community of coders network, educate, and provide services within the community. And again, Barry, it's very, it seems like you are frustrated, like many people are, that if you take away that perk of the CEU going virtually, um, then it's almost like it feels kind of like a punishment, doesn't it? um, but I don't think that's their initial mindset. Um, we have to remember, and it's not easy, that the AAPC is a business, and we have to let them know what our needs are, but it costs a lot of money to be able to run a credentialing organization. Now, there's again pros and cons and negatives, but they are a business. And so I suspect that some of that may have to do with financial reasons and pulling resources in different areas. I don't know for sure. I'm just making an assumption. But again, I don't feel that it's what the decision that they're making is malicious in intent or a way to weed out people or make it inconvenient for people. However, I do know that they're adaptable and that they do listen to us. And if you feel like that you can put forth a good reason why they should continue to have the CEUs virtually, then by all means. And they've locked it down. I know that they will not let you jump from one. You won't be able to go in and just change your chapter. Like I can't change my Jefferson City to Columbia just because they're going to have a great lecture and I want the CEU for that, and it's just an hour away instead of 30 minutes away from where I live. Kim says, I don't understand the reasoning for some of us. Oh, let's see, some of us who are from smaller areas, the ability to attend some of the larger area meetings with more prominent speakers was amazing. I absolutely agree. I hear that repeated over and over again. And they're not saying you can't attend. You're just not going to get a CEU for it. And that's the crutch. you know, or we want to be able to get more than just the knowledge. We want to be able to also um, get that CEU. Let's see. Lady says, I'm an officer too, and I can have some resources for speakers for those officers that need to schedule a meeting with a variety of topics. See, that's exactly what we need to do. Not just the officers either, but the officers do have resources that other people don't have access to. So I was reading the email this year for 2023. I volunteered, or I said that agreed to be the educational officer for my chapter, and it has been a while since I've been an officer. I Back in the past, I was an officer a lot, and it's, you do have to put in time to do that. However, it was extremely rewarding. It was extremely fun, and there are other perks, which we can do a webinar another time about the positives and the perks of being an officer. But again, that is something you might want to consider. We can make change within. Ladies also says, and I feel like I'm not saying your name right, as if it's Laddie or Lady. APCES also created a reward program for officers for 2023 that came out in our officer newsletter. And I would encourage you to reach out to your officers and ask them about that and see if that doesn't help maybe promote getting getting into being an officer. Patricia says, for many chapters not having any meetings, it is required to have 4 virtuals and 2 in person a year. That's correct. There is a criteria on how many chapters that you have to have meetings, chapter meetings. Darcy says, Darcy is is involved with us. She's one of our coaches. Coming from a local chapter officer, when we held virtual meetings, we had people from all over the country attend, and local chapter members were not able to attend due to the limit in Zoom capacity. That is, Darcy, that's not something I had really considered, that might be an occurrence, because I didn't realize Zoom had a cap on how many people that could attend. I remember when we used to use GoToMeeting, and GoToWebinar, that we could only have 999, and there were a few times when we had our monthly Q&A webinars that we would tap over that and people wouldn't be able to get in, and I remember them being frustrated about that. So that is something to think about. Kim says, I have been teaching for 20 years and teach a CPC prep course and would be happy to speak if it could be approved for CEUs. Kim's, I'm sure it absolutely would be approved. Kim, let us know where you're at so that what state you're in, so that people can reach out to you. Nan says, what about coders who work remote in one state but live in a different state? I am registered in the chapter in the state where I work, not live. Did the AAPC address that? Nan, excellent question, because in the past you had to be within 100 miles diameter or circumference there. Uh, that would be something that you would absolutely need to reach out to, I would say, Marty Johnson with the AAPC, and she would be able to tell you how that works. And I know that a lot of employers will pay for your membership dues and so on and so forth, which makes sense why you would be involved with the chapter that you worked. Very good point. Let's see. Uh, Lupita, let's see. I attended some meetings where they would pre-register their local chapter members so they could have priority, and then allow the rest of us to join to avoid that. Excellent suggestion. Wow, this is great networking that we're doing right now, guys. Excellent advice and workaround to benefit your local members first. Leslie says, our chapter is close to shutting down. We're down to maybe one in my area in Portland, Oregon, but the other chapters don't even hold meetings every month. Even the 6 total is not enough per year, 6 to 12 CEUs per year, and we need to meet 36. There are some other ways to get CEUs besides your local chapter, Leslie. And again, Leslie's in Portland, Oregon. So let's see what we can do to help them as well, just like we mentioned Austin. And let's keep going here. The officer training, one of the perks for officers is that you do get 2 CEUs for doing the officer training, and it's beneficial. I've had officer training back when I was back in the day. And not only did I attend local chapter officer training, but I also had gone to a few of the conferences where they offered officer training. But you do get 2 CEUs for 2023. They have officer training, 16 sessions available. You can pick which ones are best for you. It's going to be open from December to January. They're going to have 2 board members on each one of those training sessions. And for some of us, there's new things that have changed, but to answer the questions that we would get from the members, just like we're doing tonight, to explain the CEUs, how much money's involved with attendees, how to run the treasury reports, how to do local chapter meetings where you test and do preps. There's all kinds of education that's available. So you do get these free 2 CEUs. If you're an officer, that's additional training that you get. They did start a new system to register for the CEUs for the local chapters, and it's this new online system is, I'm assuming, going to streamline and make approval faster. The turnaround for CEU approvals haven't always been the fastest. I pretty confident that I could stay, or I could say that if that local chapters get priority in CEU approvals. So CCO would be a vendor, and if we send anything in, it would take longer for us to get approval than if my local chapter, Jefferson City, were to send in for the same content, because um, the chapters always get priority for approval in the time delay. So I'm pretty sure that that's what this new system is going to do, is to alleviate that pain point and get those approvals out quicker. Valerie Jones is the head of the CEU of approvals, and she is going to be doing a training on January 13th, two different times. You can eat, and they're Easter time because she's uh, Eastern ET, I guess Eastern time, uh, at noon and at 2 o'clock. I've always thought of Eastern time as EST, and I know that I was pretty sure that she was in Utah, so maybe she's not. And that would have been Mountain time. Anyway, if you have any questions, Valerie Jones is the one to connect with CEUs at the AAPC. Now, there are alternatives. There are a lot of resources for free and paid CEUs. And Kim is mentioning that Valerie's great to work with. I have talked to her and had some meetings with her, and she was very easy and straightforward um, um, to work with. So I think if you need to reach out to her, she'll be able to assist you quickly. Now, Dawn says, what is the pro for AAPC to stop allowing us to obtain CEUs when attending these virtual meetings with other chapters? Um, well, Dawn, you kind of caught me there. One of the pros that I would say is that they're driving it in that networking, um, promoting people attending live instead of relying on being virtual. Um, so that you can network and you can get to know your local chapter people. The mentoring process, things like that, I think is what they're thinking. Again, they didn't explain why. They just stated the result. I don't know if they thought everybody was going to be as upset as what we're hearing about it. But I would love to find out what their thought process is, and so therefore, will I'm sure, because it kind of blew up today on all of the discussion boards and the forums, that and people were pretty upset about it. So again, that we'll probably get some clarification, more information about that. Kim says, I'm in North Carolina but teach virtually, so it's something I'm used to doing. Very good, Kim. Absolutely. A positive thing to have people that are comfortable with working virtually. We need more people like that, Kim. So we really appreciate you offering your services to do that. Carrie says, Alex just posted something on Facebook, but I haven't read it yet. We'll have our Lori, who's in charge of CCO's social media and networking. I'm sure she's on it. So we'll see if she can follow back with us before we get done and get some idea of what he states. But let's talk about some of those alternatives, some things that you can do in free CEUs. One of the things is that we have a CCO community, and we give away 3 CEUs free in there. And so, um, absolutely easy to do, no obligation. Just go to cco.us/free CEU, and you can watch those CEUs. They change them in and out once in a while, but take advantage of that. Get that link and go find out what we offer in our free community area. Lori posted now, she said, all right, so this is what Alex said. Hi all, thank you for taking your time to share feedback about our communication to local chapter officers regarding reimbursement increases and incentives to attend local chapter meetings. Incentives to attend local chapter meetings being key. Please know your comments are shared with our executive team along with the National Advisory Board. We'd like to give clarity on why the changes were made. This is what we were looking for, guys. So you're getting to hear it. I'll read it out to you. Apologize for reading it. It says, first, we sense there may be confusion regarding some of the information posted in the group. Please know that the notification about reimbursement being quadrupled for local chapter attendees uh, and had nothing to do with the cost for members to attend chapters. AAPC will continue to promote and incentivize free chapter meetings and incur the cost of reimbursement for local chapter officers holding them. The dollar amounts shown in the group post are funds to be paid to chapters from the national office from those attending chapters. Okay, so that is the $4 and the $1. They get $4 for everybody that attends live in person, and they'll get $1 for virtuals. This is clarified further below under how we hope to support local chapters. All right, now this is the crux. This is the part I think we want. What we've seen during the pandemic. As you all know, the heart of the AAPC is our 230,000 strong member community. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've continued to find ways to connect with each other. Beginning in March of 2020, chapters primarily relied on virtual meetings. While this has created easier opportunities for many of you to earn CEUs, it certainly has come at the cost of many local chapters, some of which have ceased hosting meetings or shuttered altogether. We have also had reports of chapter members unable to a set, let's see, access virtual meetings due to digital seats being filled by those not of that chapter. We hope to change the momentum back towards in-person meetings while still allowing a virtual option, including CEUs and reimbursement. Okay, that's not what they said. So let's see. In-person meetings, they're still allowing CEU and reimbursement, but only if it's your local chapter. So it says, how we hope to support our local chapters. Here we go. In an effort to encourage local chapter meeting attendance, the APC has proposed to reimburse local chapters double that of 2022 and quadruple that of pre-COVID reimbursement for in-person attendees. We're also planning to retain reimbursement in CEUs for virtual meetings when attended locally and allow visitors to come for education whenever they want if space available. Chapter officers have been given details about the increased funds they can receive per attendee. Many chapters have struggled to find venues to host meetings. Some have been forced to rent spaces, creating financial burdens on the chapter. We hope the additional funds help chapter officers find space for their meetings. Funds may also help provide additional resources to chapters members. In addition, the APC is hiring resources to assist local chapters in finding a physical meeting space. They're hiring somebody to help local chapters find meeting spaces. That's interesting, isn't it? Okay. Oh, well, I'm curious how that's going to work. Let's see. Why we have local chapters. The AAPC local chapters were created to give professionals a place to network with local peers, receive local education that relates to their needs, and to help those seeking local careers within the business of healthcare. Local chapters also provide professionals, leadership, and teaching opportunities within a local community. Very good. And again, I think that is what their main intent is. It is wonderful what they've done to alleviate the not being able to access being in public, not being able to rent space and stuff because of the pandemic, and now they're shifting back to, hey, this is the way we did it before, and we've lost sight of by going virtual, some of the closeness and the camaraderie that you get with your local chapters, being a part of something uh, that's of value to you and your community of coders. So I think that's the main intent of what they're doing. So let's read on. Let's see. Uh, What if I struggle to attend a local chapter meeting in person? Not all chapters can support the diverse needs or need constraints of your schedule. Members have the opportunity to choose a chapter that works best for their needs. While we do not encourage members to frequently change their assigned chapter, they may do so by updating their assigned chapter under the profile section of their account. Now, Lori and I went in and looked at that today, and neither one of us could change today if we wanted. Not that we wanted to, we wanted to see if we could, and we weren't allowed to. So that might have been some kind of a weird glitch. Then it says, if there are other concerns, please express them in the comments below, and we'll address them in this thread. Thanks again for all of your feedback and your continuing to support the AAPC community. All right, so what does that tell us? That kind of reiterates a little bit of what we were thinking. They know that local chapters are struggling, how much of that was due to the pandemic and how much of that was, that lack of loss of community. Darcy says, as an officer, this change will help the local chapters keep active. I can see that. And what they're doing is they're saying that when you get the people in, you incentivize them to come into their local chapter, they are going to get more reimbursement for the AAPC, and thus they'll be able to offer more in resources to the local members. Betsy says, if you don't support our local chapters, they will no longer be able to operate. It's very simple. You're right, Betsy. That pretty much sums up the thought processes of what I think is happening. So this probably has a direct correlation to some of those local chapters that have been struggling for so long. The pandemic hit everybody very hard in that area, and they filled the need by giving us access to be able to go to virtual. And now they're saying you can still attend virtual, you can get that training, you're just not going to get a CEU for it. And so there is the way that we network virtually as a the larger community, to say, hey, here are CEU options. And just like we were talking with Lady, she and I think it was Kim, that hey, we can do education, we can do these great um, um, meetings and get people to come in, but we can network and bring in speakers that are needed for our local communities. Let's see. Kim said, why couldn't they do something that you must attend a certain number of local meetings, but after meeting that number of local meetings, but after meeting that criteria, they should allow you to gain CEUs from other chapters? That, you know what, that might be a comment that might be something that could be implemented. Very good idea, Kim. I think you should put that in the Facebook comment to Alex, and say, sometimes it's nice to think that way, Kim, because instead of just saying, okay, I don't like this, and pushing back, saying, you know what, I understand this, I don't like it, but here is an alternative or another option. Could we do something like this? It alleviates that the pain points, that why you're driving people into the communities again. Yes, we see that as a positive, but can we also be allowed to pick up 5 CEUs every year virtually or something? Good point. I would mention that. Lady says, I think it's time to be more engaged within our local chapters. I absolutely agree, 100%. And I can tell you that from being at a point where I was extremely active in my local chapter for a very long time, and from in St. Louis and in San Angelo, and then I moved away. There was a time where I was just so busy working, and I was able to get my CUs. That wasn't, I kind of disengaged from local chapters for about 4 years, maybe even 5. And before that, I was extremely, like for 5 or 6 years, I was extremely active. And there was one time for 2 years, I proctored every single month. We had a um, an exam uh, weekend, and I proctored every single one of those. And so, again, now I'm just now finding that I have time to give back to my local chapter again. And so volunteering to be an officer and encouraging other people to run for office and make the chapter dynamic. The Jefferson City chapter and the Columbia chapter close to us are very good chapters. Um, so you're right. That's a good point. Lori says other chapters struggled with local attendance, so I hope this helps. And we can still get CEUs from other resources and organizations, but not local chapter virtual meetings. That's another good point, lady. I mean, you guys are really brilliant. I can tell that everybody that's on here is uh, we're we want to help, right? We are invested in helping our community, both our local chapters, but also nationally, all local chapters. We're invested in what we do. This is really unique to other careers that aren't like that. They're competitive. We're not competitive. We network, mentor, and assist each other. And so trying to take what feels like a negative and make it a positive, good thing. We offer CEUs that are free, and there are other places where you can get free CEUs. You just may not know about them. So absolutely reach out to other people that you're seeing here tonight. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. CCO is on LinkedIn. Lori's on there, and with our Facebook pages and stuff. Find out. Ask for local chapter ideas. Let's see. Lori said, Alex told me today that next social hour will cover this topic most likely, which makes sense. You're right. They hit the hot topics. Darcy says, to clarify, if I attend your local chapter virtual meeting, you will get the CEU. Uh, Darcy, if you attend if you attend your local chapter virtual meeting, you will get the CEU. That is correct. If you attend virtually, the chapter doesn't get the reimbursement for you at the level as if you are there in person. However, you still get CEUs. So there's no reason for chapters to not have the virtual component for their local meetings as well as in person. But if an outsider from the chapter comes in virtually, they're not going to get a CEU. If they attend your chapter in person, like a guest, if you're traveling or whatever, for whatever reason, you do get a CEU because you attend live. You do get a CEU for that. Lady says, here's the link for Noridian Medicare. Let's see, they offer CEUs, continuing education. Laureen's here. Great update. You guys, isn't it wonderful to see Laureen and um, uh, everybody give her a shout out and tell her hello? Now, I got more good news, guys. Let me just get my cursor back over here. Remember, we used to do monthly Q&A webinars. I alluded to that earlier. I don't know how many of you guys have been with us in the past. CCO has been going strong for almost a decade now. And in the past, we would have monthly CEUs that were worth 1 to 1.5 CEUs. And these Q&A webinars were so much fun to do. They were a lot of hard work, but they were fun. So what we would do is we would take your topic requests, we would unpack them, we would research them, and then we would create content and submit for CEU credit. And then you could attend virtually and get that CEU. Now, this is different. The reason you can do that is that we're paying for the CEU. It's not being given to you by the local chapters are given CEUs. They do not pay for them. They're free to the chapter. We're vendors. We have to pay for our CEUs. And let me tell you, they're not cheap. However, we are committed to giving you resources. So we are going to bring back our Q&A webinars, but we're not going to do them monthly like we did in the past. We're going to start out doing them quarterly, and we're going to start in February. What I would love for you guys to do, this would benefit us a lot, is if you would tell us what you loved about the way we did our monthly CEU Q&A webinars, what content you'd like to see us provide you, how can we make our Q&A webinars even better than what they were in the past. Then we'll go through, we'll noodle all of that. We will come back in February with a fabulous CEU that will be free to you guys, not just one CEU, 1.5 CEUs. If we do that quarterly, right? So what is that, like six or seven? Somebody give me the total on how many CEUs that would be. And you would get a every quarter. And then on top of that, if you got the 3 CEUs from our CCO community that's free, that's fabulous. Now, if you want to invest in our CCO club, that is a nominal fee. It's, I don't remember, it's just like $20 or a little over $20 a month that you can stop anytime. But that's always got a minimum of 20 CEUs. So again, this is just other options. Now, we're not the only ones out there that do this. There are other areas, people that offer CEUs free. And if you hear about them, let us know. We'd be more than happy to spread the word. Again, we're obviously not doing this to make money. We're doing this to give back to the community the best that we can. If the way we are supported by you is that you tell everybody about us. And again, that we do have services that we offer, education and our blitz. And Laureen created the BAT technique, the bubble highlight and annotate technique back in 1999. It's can't get uh, that is that has been so fabulous for so many people through the years, and because of that, um, we know that we have a lot of people tell us that they were thankful that they got that education, learned how to do the BAT technique, and that spreads like wildfire, telling people. So again, that's how you can pay us back. Uh, let's see. I think Laddie said something else. Let me look and see. She said, I think they're doing this because we're not going to get the funds from proctoring exams. This is a good way to fund local chapters. Remember, funds are for local members. We buy books, memberships, and hardship funds. You know what? That's another very good point. Again, refocusing in on let's um, let's uh, not I keep saying vibrate. That's not what I want. Not validate. Let's invigorate our local chapters. Let's do what we can to support our local chapters. Lori said the CCO club is $24.99 a month. And again, we have free practice exams. That's right. And Laureen is not old, even though she created that BAT technique in 1999. I'll never forget. We have actually a YouTube video with one of her first students that talks about the going through that program that Laureen created, and that it was back in '99. So that would be fun for you guys to see. Uh, Helene, let's see. I'm obviously torturing names. Says, I always loved your breakdown of the subjects that you were totally in love with. You're right. You nailed it. Like the ICD-10, a more in-depth dive into the cardiovascular system. I absolutely love that. And I always gear everything towards risk adjustment, right? We do have a lot of freebies, guys. We want to give back, and I know there's so many people that are in our community nationally that want to do the same, and therefore the best thing we can do is help promote each other. We again are committed to offering free content to you as much as possible. We want to bring back the Q&A webinars. We'll start out quarterly, see how that works. And someone did say, yes, that's 6. So, uh, Janelle, thank you. I kept looking at your name and I'm thinking, I just feel like I'm torturing it every single time. Thank you for phonetically putting that out there for me. And uh, again, I don't know how to say it enough or let you know that we're going to take what feels like a negative, them pulling those virtual CEUs for people who are not members of that chapter. Again, we can say that's negative. That feels very painful. However, remember, that's the way it was before the pandemic, right? So, what's the positives that we're getting from this? We're going to encourage and reinvigorate local chapters. We're going to make sure that you are aware of how to get CEUs free or low cost CEUs with value. We CCO is committed to offering content and being a resource to you when you need guest speakers. We'll let you know about other speakers that are available. I know Stacy was one of our speakers that came that specializes in interventional radiology. Some of these things that are really unique, Project Resume was a unique one I remember that had an impact on people. So we'll do as much as we can to bring value and content to you guys. And in turn, what you'll do for us is that you'll let us other people know how fabulous we are. Share our content, comment on our YouTube videos, comment on Facebook, and feel free to share on LinkedIn and all those other platforms that you guys use. You guys were asking about the CCO Club and it's $24.95. It's one of those things that you guys, if you need CEUs and you know there's at least 20 CEUs in there all the time, you could join for 1 month, knock out all those CEUs, and then just not be a member the next month if you didn't, you don't need it. I mean, technically you could do that if you wanted, but I really think that the value that goes along with membership is a positive. So these are all the things that you can get beside the CEU. So we do a lot of conversations in there. Oh, that's right. Lori says, if you ever have questions, reach out to her on Facebook. She is in a lot of forums, and it's a great resource. Coding and risk assessment help, extended access to past courses, and the review blitz purchases. Really easy to find. It's cco.us/clubs. So again, I hope that you guys will give it a try and let other people know. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you say, I don't need any of that, but you know somebody else that would benefit from it. Then absolutely share, because that will help us as well. Let's see. Tina says, I have 2 chapters that I can access locally and I can collect CEUs from both of those. Um, Now, Tina, that I do not believe is accurate. I believe you have to be a member of a chapter. You can't pick, you can't be 2. Like I had mentioned earlier, I joined the Jefferson City chapter, which is 30 minutes away from me. And then the Columbia, Missouri chapter is an hour drive away. Now, I've done guest speaking for both of those, but I chose to join the Jefferson City because they're only 20 minutes away from me. And there is a couple down south from me a little bit, but again, it was easier for me to go to the Jefferson City. That's the one I joined. I can't get CEUs from Columbia. Now, I could go in person and get that. So what you could do, Tina, is you could go in person to both of those and get the CEUs, but you won't get the CEUs virtually unless you're a member of that chapter. Let's see. Allison, do you know when the new BAT PDFs will be coming out for the 23 book? They are actively being worked on. I don't know, but I think they're really close to being done. Uh, uh, so we'll get you an update on that. They usually are done within by January. So let's see. And says, thank you for breaking down this for us and keeping a positive perspective. Well, we are about to wrap up, and that is a great way to end it. We do want to always stay positive. It is encouraging to know there's so many out there that want to help others. That is one unique thing that one of the probably the biggest takeaways the first time I went to a conference is that everybody was out to encourage and help everybody else. So we want to continue that. It can be very frustrating. We may not understand the whys behind. It sounds like Alex is going to do some explaining to everybody and hopefully alleviate some of that fear that with the statement that came out. And in doing so, hopefully we'll understand. But we know that if we work together, we will get through this. Think of the bright side, you guys. Everything's opening back up. We're actually able to go to local chapter meetings and get back to seeing everybody. I've already got plans for the Christmas event that our chapter's having in December. I'm looking forward to that. So I hope you guys are connected and doing the same. And let's see, Melissa says, we introduced CCO to our local chapter by giving a CCO club membership to an attendee during May Mania. Thank you, Melissa. You guys, that's right. If you need door prizes from us, let us know. We usually, I think it was 1 a year prize, did we do, or 2 for local chapters? Lori's in charge of that, so she'll have to get back with us, but reach out. Again, just another way for us to give back. Tiffany says, thank you, CCO, for giving back. You guys are great. And if you have a topic, let's end it with this. If you guys have a topic request that you want us to do education on, because that's really what we do. We do education, and let us know what that is, and we'll start planning for. We'll either put it in the February Q&A webinar. If you guys aren't familiar with some of our Q&A webinars in the past, go check them out on YouTube. And some of those, you could see the different hair changes. You could see me go from being real fat to much thinner. That was kind of fun to watch. But it goes back, I think, like 8 years in those. But topic requests, we rely on you. Otherwise, it'll all be my pick, and it'll be ICD-10, provider education, and risk adjustment. That's all you'll get from me if you let me pick on my own. So you want something else, you better let us know. Okay, Lori says we give door prizes 2 times a year to chapters free. And Laureen had said, that's a great idea, May Mania. Thank you for that. You guys, I appreciate you joining us. We like to have fun. We do education. We could do a whole lot of other stuff. Believe you me, we've discussed it and talked about it, but our focus is education. We want to educate you on how to be a coder. We want to invest in you and help you pass that exam, certification exam, and then we want to provide CEUs and help you maintain your credential. That's our goal and purpose. So spread the news, share the love. Don't think of this as negative. We're going to focus on the positive. And hey, see you next time. Bye, guys.
Do you need more medical certification and business training? Learn more at www.cco.us.